Welcome to another episode of the CPG Guys podcast. Our hosts, Sri Rajgopalan, Peter V.S. Bond, and Brian Gildenberg explore how brands and retailers engage consumers in an increasingly digitally driven world. And now, here are the CPG Guys.
Hello, and welcome to the CPG Guys podcast. I'm Brian Gildenberg, founder and CEO of Confluencer Commerce, the managing director of North America at Retail Cities, and the host of both the Gildenberg Omni Comment, because who else would be, and the CPG Guys Fast Forward podcast. We're recording today's episode high above the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, where we're here to attend the Grocery Shop Conference for 2023, where CPG retail omni-channel professionals come together to learn the latest about consumer engagement and digital transformation. I'll be on stage at Grocery Shop tomorrow, which will be well in the yesterdays by the time you hear this. But if you have a time machine and want to come back to Thursday morning, you can come watch me on stage talking about loyalty with Giant Foods and Shipped, which will be super fun. For those of you that were here, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm joined, as is not unusual, by my friend and co-host, the Partnership Acceleration Lead at Flywheel, the Gentleman of Guilford, as opposed to the Wizard of Westwood, Peter Bond. Peter, how are you today, man?
I'm trying to figure out whether I want to use a hot tub or a DeLorean to go back in time and see you perform at grocery.
Why don't you put the DeLorean in the hot tub? Ooh. There you go. There you
go. Build one in it. I like that.
That's there. So there you go. Hot tub DeLorean time machine. So,
Brian, I'm really excited to be here with you in Las Vegas. Sri and I were like ships passing in the night. He was leaving to go up to Northern California as I was flying in from the East Coast. And
I know I'm your point of continuity.
You are the rock steady of the CPG.
I am the lobster with the two claws holding each of you.
It's great to be here. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Looking forward to it as well. So before we get to our guests, we are going to remind everybody to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. And if you use Apple or Spotify, please give us a rating. It helps feed the algorithm, makes our podcast more findable. We want to express how honored we are to be rated the number one CPG podcast.
The number one.
Number one. For two years running, according to FeedSpot, the leading podcast ranking authority. And we are very pleased to have joining us in the top 30 our sister podcast, the CPG Scoop. Some podcast called CPG Guys Fast Forward, which
it's suspect. We'll just say that.
By the way, top 2, Trinidad and Tobago. Bring it on. So shout out to my buddies Gary and
Still room for improvement.
Shout out to my friends Gary and Candace, who I think are the two people listening to it in Trinidad and Tobago.
Might just be a VPN. Someone's like trying to avoid.
also possible.
Someone trying to avoid association with America.
Well, see, but even so, it's popular with Trinidadians and criminals everywhere.
What about toboggans?
Toboggans.
Is that a toboggan?
I don't think they call
them. Is that something you go down on the snowy slope?
I don't think they call them toboggans. No. Okay. This is like podcast number 19 for the week, guys. So welcome.
We're a little punchy.
Anyway, we are happy to be the formal sponsors of Next Up, whose mission is to advance all women in business and promote the cause of gender equality in the workplace. To learn more about Next Up, simply click on the hyperlink in the digital liner notes of the episode, where you will also find links to our podcast site and the sites of our sister cast. You'll also find links to follow Shri's daughters. Daughters, yes, I mispronounced that. Shri's daughters, Rhea and Laura, on their career journeys as they move through the world of music. Rhea being featured as the Asian Pacific American Islander
Artist of the Month
on the Times Square Billboard through Spotify, and Lara in the midst of a reality competition called Dream Academy, which is competing to be in the next global K-pop band. So,
can we do K-pop? Can we try and do that?
Yeah, I think it would be like, sort of
the geriatrics.
Yeah, so sort of whatever. I can't even think of
with our support hose. And...
So we're putting the we're putting the popped in K-pop as our knees pop. Anyway, so as we move back into reality, we're going to get to our very special guest for today's conversation. Our guests today are from Incremental, a business with the bold promise of neutral media retail measurement for all. So the last line of the Pledge of Allegiance, and a outstanding brand promise, helping brands and retailers plan, assess, and predict the impact of their retail media investments. Today, we are joined in the
flesh, IRL.
IRL, as the kids say. I don't think they say it anymore.
I don't think they say.
So we're joined by Dave Pollet, the CEO, and Skye Frontier, the SVP of Growth. Gentlemen, how are you guys today?
Doing good. Doing good. Happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Excellent. Thrilled to have you here as well. We appreciate your time taking time out of this busy grocery shop agenda to share a perspective on the emerging world of retail media. So why don't you start, either or both of you, tell us a little bit about Incremental and what your roles are there, and just a little bit more about what Incremental actually does.
Sure. I mean, Incremental, you nailed it. We are a neutral media measurement provider.
I nailed it because I took it off your website.
Yeah,
so,
we're focused on retail media, but we also sort of widen the aperture to bring in other media types. We think there's an interconnectivity, and our ultimate goal is to help brands truly understand the incremental impact of their advertising. And what we mean by that is what are the sales that wouldn't have come in had you not advertised? That was a double negative.
Right.
What are the sales that came in because you advertised?
Right. That's and I think we're going to get into that relatively simple concept that has relatively thorny definitional implications as we
a lot of ice below the waterline.
Yeah, that was a very nice tip of the iceberg. So Dave, you're the CEO and the Grand Poobah, and you get the water buffalo hat, I'm sure. Skye, talk a little bit about your role there. So
I'm the head of growth, and actually I've got kind of like dual roles. So I lead our go-to-market efforts, and I also lead our client services organization. So I have to deliver on all the grand promises we got and make in the market too.
So he spouts off, and he's got to pick up the mess.
Right. Yeah. So
I'm trying to boil that down to a very simplistic approach.
I think we need a mess picker upper. So
you and I sure like to make the mess.
Yeah, we're
good at making mess.
Yeah. So Skye, if you're looking for a side hustle, we could use
there. We go.
Yeah. We could use someone to follow this particular elephant as it wanders through the world. Anyway, well, thanks for the overview. In the digital liner notes of the episode, we'll include links to your LinkedIn profiles, Incremental's LinkedIn page, and your website for our listeners to access where we go with our conversation. So why don't we get into the meat of this? And we're going to start, as we always do, with sort of the superhero origin story. So whether it was the radioactive spider bite or the
lightning
planet,
strike that hit all the chemicals,
the planet being destroyed by Lex Luthor, and you were sent here in a giant space bubble, whatever it is. Just talk a little bit about your backgrounds and your road to Incremental, and specifically, why did you both choose to be in this place at this time in the evolution of the industry?
Yeah, I'll take that first. So, just in terms of personal journey, I was a dot-com bubble kid. So I came out in the market at a time when money was flowing very easily. There was tremendous optimism. The optimism wasn't connected to business outcomes whatsoever. You simply had to have sexy marketing. And, my career exploded. And then April 2001 hit, the dot-com bubble burst. And fast forward to that, I went from running all digital at LendingTree to begging for a job as an assistant manager at a liquor store. Meaning, so I came out and I hit the harsh reality of actually you have to connect performance back to the business, and you have to connect outcomes.
A meaningful lesson, no less.
A very meaningful lesson. Yeah, but
did you find that was true at the liquor store as well, or?
Yeah, no. Well, there it was. Don't consume the product.
Subpar performance marketing, I think, is what the liquor store was selling. So.
Yeah, but after that, quick stay at Bank of America, and then really only doing startups where there were 20 people or less to start, right? And so that's sort of been the trajectory, and it's been a lot of fun in MarTech, ad tech, huge focus on machine learning applications.
Super. Skye?
Yeah. So Brian, like yourself, I was a philosopher in school.
There we go.
Got a raconteur. Philosopher. Yes. Pretty close associated.
So we can sing the Philosopher song by Monty Python.
So the secret handshake.
Yeah. Manuel Kant was a real pissant who was just as sloshed as Schlegel.
Got out of the market, or got into the job market during the last Great Recession, and weren't too many open positions for philosophers. So did the next best thing, and I got into marketing.
Right.
So most of my career since then has been in research or analytics.
Slightly more tethered to earthly reality.
It's a little more,
exactly.
a little more grounded. Helping brands understand human decision making and helping them make better decisions along the way. Yeah. So, had been watching the growth of retail media for a while. So when Dave called, a year and a half ago, I jumped at the opportunity to jump in and build something now. We're sort of at that amazing inflection point.
Yeah, and I skipped over your question, and that's important. The one line that I said to Skye sort of justifies why I came here, and it was the hook for Skye, which was there's this massive explosion. It's on a path to 50 billion, and it's going to continue to grow. And there's not a single neutral measurement provider in the space. that was pretty much it. And you know, I don't want to over-congratulate Skye, but Skye's not an easy get, right? We've worked together at past companies. When he announced that he came here, my LinkedIn blew up with, "How did you get Skye?" And so,
as opposed to Brian and I, we are very easy get.
Yeah. I mean,
we have no problem selling ourselves.
When I joined the CPG guys, our LinkedIn sort of imploded, actually, so it did the opposite. And I think too, so Skye, and that the appeal of that was true for you as well, or?
Absolutely. I've always been sort of drawn to building something, and the need for independent measurement in retail media has never been bigger. So it was the right time, the right place.
Well, my hypothesis, and just for what it's worth, is I think that as retail media continues to develop and as the data sets get more granular, more personalized, blah, 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 and as television continues to morph into a personalized experience and connect, the linkage between those, which you're already starting to see piloted with the Kroger-Roku partnership and stuff like that, all this is going to evolve into what will probably be by 2030 the largest advertising platform in the world, which is connected viewing and connected buying, and that will probably replace search eventually as the largest ad platform on earth. So well timed, gentlemen. So.
Gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. We're so happy to have you here today. So, Dave, I'd love to understand how you think about contextually retail media and parallels in historical experiences about advertising and capabilities of advertising that you think are relevant to how we should think about retail media now. What are your thoughts around this?
We're going to the Scooby-Doo Wayback Machine here. We're going to sort of set the stage.
Thank you for the noise, John.
We do high tech. We spare no expense on the CPG Guys podcast. We have high tech.
This is basically a Marvel movie, really.
It is pretty fun.
Well, good. You can CGI me into being in shape, but
I don't think we have that technology.
that far surpasses our capabilities.
We're not miracles.
We're not miracles.
We're mere mortals. Look, so I think of it as parallels to different mediums, right? We could use CTV, we could use digital advertising. But let's use digital advertising. Let's go all the way back to 97. I was selling advertising.
Yeah.
There was no standardized ad type. There was no 468. There was no
Wild West
5 by 125. I had to hire a creative when Web Trends bought an ad for me so that I could build the banners for them. We're not that far back, but we are lacking a lot of things, right? We don't have centralization of ad inventory in retail media. We don't have transparency. We don't have the same attribution models. So even when you look at ad attributed sales across different marketplaces, you're not looking at the same thing.
No.
How do you compare them?
And who was in control in that period? Who kind of had the upper hand in how decisions were made? Was it the advertiser or was it
the distributor?
The distributor.
That's a perfect question, because that's the moment, right? When the power evens out, you get a lot of innovation. Back then, what we called the portals had all of the control. When I was running digital for LendingTree, Yahoo RFP'd me. They sent me a request for a proposal to be on their loan center. I offered them $8 million and they turned it down.
Wait, when I get RFPs, it's usually for them to spend with me. This was them issuing an RFP for you to spend with them.
Right.
Yes. And so
a request for payola.
RFPP.
But here's the thing. The innovation in retail media is happening so much faster than it happened in 99, right? Like Criteo just had a great announcement where they're going to try to centralize some of the inventory. There's new measurement partners coming into play. We hope that will be the default standard, but really I don't care. I want to see neutral measurement within the space. If you were at the IAB, I was not there, but I sent people there. There was, on every single stage, there was a retailer, there was a brand, and there was real communication about data, transparency, measurement, unify it, a common lens of targeting across audiences. And all of those things will drive tremendous growth in the space. And so to answer your question, the parallel is it looks like the old days of digital in some ways. It looks like CTV, where you had the people who sell the ads or activate the ads also trying to measure it. That shouldn't happen. There should be a separation to neutrality within measurement.
And that's the friction that is keeping brand advertisers from moving lock, stock, and barrel into these new age and new capabilities. Yeah. It's keeping them at arm's distance and just testing, right?
Yeah, this fragmentation is it's a difficult thing. Forget about the budget and the justification of the budget. It's difficult to execute against in such a fragmented space.
Yeah. Particularly for media buyers who are not known for their maze-bright problem-solving skills. In terms of, it's like, if it's not easy to buy, I don't want it. So I had one of the heads of one of the major retail media networks who goes, Brian, all you need to remember 3 words in media: money follows easy. So if you're not easy to work with, nobody's spending a dime. So and I think that over time, and in a market where there's not like autarkic competitive principles, the sellers set the term of markets because they have the money. It's only when you have sort of bizarrely structured markets that are concentrated at the distribution level for sort of structural reasons that buyers own the problem. So, and I think what you're getting to right now is sort of a move towards where a more normal market condition where sellers sort of set the terms of engagement, right?
With one big difference.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody has been bemoaning the death of cookies and maids, meaning the privacy has been imposed and it has taken away different targeting mechanisms and different measurement mechanisms. There's no reason to cry. What it has resulted in is the greatest activation at scale of first-party data that we've ever seen, and that's always been the gold standard. Retail media, when you think of it, right, it's the unlocking of retailer data. This is the best data out there to connect to media. So there's going to be an explosion here, and it's not unjustified. It's not a bubble. If you've sat through these waves in the past, you can look at it and say, we dreamed of this, right? We dreamed of actually believing our audience targeting. I know I'm going on, but I'll give you one example. Right. We used to run a DMP, right? So we had every kind of data. If you went on and said it with the behavioral, that awesome made and cookie targeting, and you said, I want people who are going to move in the next 90 days, how many households could you buy at any given time? 60 million. Do you think 60 million households are moving in the next 90 days? Yeah. Like, the data was not that great. The data's awesome now.
Right. Cool. And that gets to the interesting question then of, if the data is awesome, then we should be able to assess incrementality. So let's unpack the name of your company and start to drill into that a little bit. So Skye, when you say incrementality, what do you mean by that? It's a term that gets kicked around a ton, but how should we really be thinking about that in the world today? Because it's just like, everybody's got an iROAS metric. So I've got an iROAS and I'm going to use it. And everybody's trying to pin that I in front of ROAS as a way to make it work. I'm not sure that, that's not just, to quote the old great Southern expression, putting earrings on a pig. But I just don't really. I'd be curious for your thoughts on just incrementality as a concept before we get into some of the specific applications.
Absolutely. So incrementality is moving from coincidence to causation.
Okay.
Right? Not just did my ad happen to reach someone who purchased, but did my ad cause a sale to happen that would otherwise not happen without that marketing intervention?
Right. Well, I like the idea of coincidence, because I think it replaces the notion of correlation, because correlation implies that there's a reason those two things happen together. If you're smart, you understand that it doesn't imply causation, but coincidence is even better. I mean, I used to explain this with, there was a retailer based in Minneapolis, or short remain nameless, right? So not Best Buy, who had a decision process that I always used to describe as just a thorough confusion of coincidence, correlation, and causation. Yeah. I said, listen, I think if this retailer owned a farm and a rooster crowed every time the sun came up, they would do everything they could to keep the rooster alive for fear the sun would never rise again. Yeah. So it's like, that's not causation.
Right.
And it is in that case correlated, I suppose, but it might just be coincidence. The rooster might just get up early. So I love that as a way to think about understanding what the causal elements are, just not the things that happen synchronously together. So
synchronicity, like the police synchronicity?
Yes.
Every breath you take?
Yes. Another industrial anymore.
All right. So then,
I could sing that whole album, by the way. I've listened to it 1,000,000 times.
So the follow-up question that it's going for, I love that, coincidence to causation.
Yeah.
But my question to you, Skye, then is, it's a simple question, but I can only imagine the answer is fairly complex. Why is it so hard to measure?
Yeah, it's hard because human decision making is complex, right?
Right.
There are so many factors driving me to purchase anything. Reducing to simply, I saw an ad, I converted, is a gross simplification of why people make decisions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So to get to incrementality, either through designed experiments or modeling, you have to at least attempt to account for all these other factors influencing
Multi-touch. Uh-oh.
Oh, dear.
I sense a big discussion.
MTA is a dirty word, actually.
Oh, really?
no.
Interesting. So,
really?
So, I mean, multi-touch sounds dirty, but so I think you're probably right. But,
We're a clean podcast here, people.
I mean,
we're not going down that road again.
We're not going to go NSFW here. But what do you mean by that? Why is MTA a dirty word?
Why?
Yeah. Well, so having done it myself for many years, it requires a near perfect view of the customer journey. If there are any gaps,
Every component of it.
every single component of it, right? And it requires walled gardens which have no intention of cooperating to cooperate and share data at a level of granularity they don't even share with brands. So
Sometimes I don't even share internally.
Yeah, exactly.
One group won't share. No, I'm not letting you see my data.
So when I look at, again, the consolidation of data behind walled gardens, and at the same time the changing privacy landscape, it's hard to build a reliable sense of incrementality from something like multi-touch attribution.
Yeah. And can I just add on to that? It's a dirty word around here because it's reductionist. That old methodology, if it was good at anything, it was good at identifying the stuff that didn't work. And you're not answering a meaningful question for a brand, right? Like they don't say, occasionally there are instances where you want to cut your spend and maintain as much performance as possible. But most brands like to grow year over year, right? And so if you have a methodology that can't be set to go find performance at scale, that can't do simulations on marketing investment forward looking, you're not going to be successful. If you have the traditional approaches to doing that, you're going to have the sun rose and somebody made a purchase, thereby the sun sold. The product. So you have to solve for both.
Well, I think too is years ago I wrote a piece for when I was at Kantar called Quantum Marketing because I was really out of it.
There's the philosopher.
Oh yeah, so there you go. So and basically
that's a leap.
Well, yeah, I know it's really shocking. But I was trying to get at the idea that a lot of the rules of the digital ecosystem are when things happen in very small spaces. In the same way that with quantum mechanics, things happen in very small spaces. And quantum mechanics is just weird, right? Like you can't apply the rules of the big world to the small world. They just don't make sense. And one of the things that I cooked up as I was going through this was basically kind of reinventing the Heisenberg uncertainty principle for marketing, which is Heisenberg uncertainty principles. You can either know where something is or how fast it's moving, but you can't know both with 100% certainty. My theory of this is that you can either know what happened or you can know why it happened. But you can't actually know both. That's the Heisenberg uncertainty principle of marketing. I can know exactly what happened, but I won't know exactly why. Or I can get a perfect read on why it happened, but I won't always know how that translates into activity. And I think that's sort of and the gap that you're talking about there in terms of how that plays out and the lack of visibility into. And I guess my question would be then, is there a law of diminishing returns on MTA then? Like, is any of it good enough or directionally right, or is the whole, or has the practice of it become so addicted to the notion that we can get to granular precision that it's kind of lost the plot a little bit in terms of what it's actually supposed to do?
So can I just clarify before? We're not MTA. We're discussing MTA.
No.
Just for the audience.
Well, I figured if you said it was a dirty word.
Mousetrap.
I figured if you said it was a dirty word, unless your business model's like a lot of the things I see here in Vegas, I assume that wasn't your business.
If you're listening to this in the Starbucks line, I just want to be clear.
Yeah. Okay. Good. We're going to get to what your business model is, which isn't that in a minute, but it's just interesting to finish this out.
I think you bring a great point, which is, I very much think of measurement as a toolkit. There are different tools for different use cases. I think there are elements of MTA that are still incredibly valuable to understanding.
Okay.
When you're trying to get to a sense of incrementality, again, the gappiness in the data set makes it dangerous to build decisions off of.
Right. So it's good for sort of an assessment of the what, but when you're trying to get to the specific how much, you're over relying on those signals as a reliable indicator of exactly the degree of which that happens. So, just a reminder to our audience that we are speaking with Dave Pollet and Skye Frontier, the CEO and Chief Growth Officer of Incremental. Skye, we seem to be we're going to keep rolling with you guys, but we'll throw this out to both of you. So, I think whenever anybody does an assessment of incrementality, the assumption is that there's attributed sales, and then some subset of that is incremental, and that some of the rest of it is that true? Is that always true? Should we think about it that way? Is that the wrong way to think about it? What's sort of the truth and the problem with that basic frame of incrementality?
You take that, because there's a joke to be made about cracking the code on incrementality in that, looking at a lot of the stuff that we've seen in market. But if you see that, then you're not doing it right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's expand. So why? First of all, and either of you take this, but if you see that you're not doing it right, why? What are you doing wrong? I guess,
So to get to your heart of your question, incremental sales is not always lower than attributed sales.
Okay.
Mathematically, there should be some sales happening that the current approach is missing. So in some instances, incremental sales inherently should be greater than attributed sales. There are advertising on Amazon, sales happens on Amazon. There's also sales that happen in other channels because of that ad.
Right.
So if you do have a holistic methodology that is accounting for the interaction between channels, there are always going to be instances where incremental sales is actually higher, that the current methodology is missing sales that are happening. And when you incorporate those, actually your IROI is going to be greater. In fact, usually we see our own IROI 10, 20% higher than attributed sales on aggregate, because there is this halo effect between channels, which, again, given the siloed nature of retail media, is sort of missing in today's measurement.
Now, with that said, that's an optimized media plan. When we start out, it's hard to say something definitive, because the correlation between attributed and incremental for a large established brand is actually very different than from a brand that is emerging, right? But when you look at it, oftentimes the attributed sales, because of the way that they track, because it's coincidence, they actually tend to steer away from incrementality. So if you have a bidder, it's going to go out and it's going to find the least incremental sales, and they're going to look best from an attributed perspective. It's not adverse selection isn't a perfect term for it, but they tend to steer away because they're easier to find, right?
Can you just spend a click or two down, because you and I have had this conversation before, and it's a counterintuitive concept, or it's a really interesting concept, but I always find myself trying to find the pathway through to the end of it. So what you're saying is that if you focus on maximizing ad attribution, you're going to minimize incrementality because of the way that ad attributed advertising works, or how are we trying to?
I think it's a risk.
Frame it. Yeah. If you get measurement wrong, you're going to get optimization wrong, right?
Okay.
So if your measurement can't separate coincidence from causation, your optimization inherently runs the risk of, wasting, if not unintentionally allocating spend.
You're trying to buy coincidence, right?
Exactly. Right. You're going to keep betting on the rooster driving your sales.
Right.
And if you're a large brand with a lot of sales, it's pretty easy to find that coincidence.
There's so many things that are happening. Yeah, you can pick anything. Salespeople have been doing this for years. Pick any two data points, get a story, right? So within that spend process, that leads you to, you can get led down a lot of false rabbit holes if you're trying to buy coincidence rather than trying to understand causation.
Exactly.
And we've seen it back to parallels. Go back to digital advertising.
Right.
Do you remember when we had the introduction of identity? I think I've talked to you about this before,
yes.
Brian. So, somewhere in the middle, I was involved with deterministic and then probabilistic identity, which powered a lot of the measurement solution providers. So we got to see the outputs. And here's what happened. You start to get a sense of identity, which means you can start to say, this is the amount of times that this household or this individual saw ads. And what you very quickly saw, and I'm sure there are a lot of people listening today who've seen this, like 15% of the households often commanded about 70% of the impressions in a programmatic buy. Why is that? That's because they were all being bought by systems that were looking for the lowest CPA. What do you think is the cheapest person to convert? Somebody who's already got intention of buying it.
Right.
And so it was all remarketing, then it was behavioral targeting, and then those harder places to convert, those people where you need marketing to move them across the line and get them to buy, higher CPA, lower down in the spend.
Yeah.
And so Now you have this movement away from incrementality.
So, Dave, then my question to you is, as you think about being able to calculate that, retail media isn't the only mechanism for brands to advertise. How do you think about cross-channel investment shaping or impacting the measurement of incrementality, and how do you account for that?
And can I build one sub question into that, which is that, at Incremental, how do you do that? Yeah. Do you do that differently than other providers that you're aware of? And if so, how is it different? And why would it be better? So,
yeah, I mean, a couple of things. We think that our approach is new in general, but not dissimilar. It's grounded in in certain things that the measurement community has agreed on, right? Like you need lip tests, you need some kind of econometrics to stitch it all together.
Right.
You need to pull those together, and then we bring automation of that so that you get speed and granularity. Right. So let's just start that with the baseline.
Right.
To get back to your question, I would say that if you're just looking at search and you're trying to figure out the incrementality of search, which we've seen people attempt to do, it's kind of like trying to predict the weather and only knowing the temperature today, right? There's an interconnectivity. As a consumer, you're exposed to so much more.
Yep.
Right? You drive by billboards, you see sporting events. I know that you guys watch sporting events. That's usually how you start your podcast.
This is true.
Right? And there's sponsorship.
Yeah.
There are influencers.
We don't talk about Bruno or the Red Sox right now. So
Yeah.
We'll talk about the Dodgers. I got tickets to NLDS Game 1.
Yes, I know. She told me. So that's very exciting for you.
Sorry.
I got
we digress.
I got tickets to watch the Red Sox play golf the minute they're out of the playoffs. Or the minute they're not in the playoffs. So.
In actually different places in marketing play a different role. So, when I put my marketing hat on, not my measurement hat on, I fundamentally believe you have to move people's hearts before you change their minds. And I think that you can do that better with different media formats, like video formats, right? That's why it's exciting that retail media is moving into a video format. But the core thing here is you have to understand that to understand the incremental impact of the ads you're measuring. And I'll give you a real life example. We have a large electrolyte brand, right? And when we first ran the model, there was this huge variance. It looked like the model wasn't accurate. And our system actually is a little different. It's transparent, and we signal our clients. When we lose statistical confidence, we actually send a signal out to the agencies and the clients that goes, hey, the model's off. Like, let's get together. What we learned was it was during the summer, they had a ton of influencer investment in events. And so two things happened. One, that triggers us being able to pull that information in and build it into the model, right? But number two, and this is where it's most interesting, and this is where I hate this sort of binary give it credit, don't give it credit. I just think it's a wrong way to look at it. What we discovered was the configuration of media during times when there was heavy offline investment was different, right? The best configuration was different. So we didn't help them figure out what to cancel and what to keep. We helped them anticipate huge investment offline and maximize their ability to catch or smith that online as the demand funneled in. That interconnectivity cannot be ignored. I don't know. Was that a direct answer to your question, or?
It was a great answer to something. I actually don't even remember my question, but it was a terrific answer to something. So it makes all the sense in the world. So
if you want to hop in and give the statistical answer to them, you can. I don't know.
No, I mean, to go back to your temperature analogy, right? Understanding things like organic search rank versus paid search rank are very important. It's like, again, to your point, trying to predict the weather with just one dimension.
Right.
You have to understand what's driving people to type in those keywords in the first place, where that traffic is coming from, what might be driving that impulse.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think too, just trying to assess all the different aspects of that. I'm going to throw a question in that just occurred to me as we were going through, because it triggered. You mentioned something at the top about lift studies and econometrics, right? And I think one of the things we've gone back, we've had a number of people that are in this space on the podcast before. So, and one of the conversations that comes up a lot is the virtue of marketing mix modeling. So, We've had businesses on that are very wedded to marketing mix modeling as the be all. It's got to be the foundation. It's got to be the starting point, and without it, we're not going anywhere. We've had businesses, and we know companies that have completely gone away from marketing mix modeling and just like, look, this thing is too slow, it's too backward looking, it's too reactive. We have to put ourselves into a real-time ecosystem. Where do you guys sit in that world of if you were to figure out where you were, and I suspect you're not in either of those camps. So how do you think about the role of a marketing mix model in sort of the pursuit and measurement of incrementality?
Yeah.
So I mean, we're very much philosophically the idea of a toolkit of measurement tools. And it's about using the right tools for the right questions. I think today, in terms of strategic top-down resource allocation,
yes.
Market mix models calibrated and validated with lift tests is a great foundation to be driving top-down resource allocation. However, when you get down to the granularity of it, market mix models tend to deliver results a bit more accurate, not necessarily at the frequency you'd buy media. So you still
not at a campaign level.
Not at a campaign level.
Yes.
They'll tell you, spend $10 million on Amazon.
But not exactly on what product, when to do it. And
I've got 150 campagins. How do
So
I
what's the
park this
value?
spend?
What's the value to the media practitioner then?
it's not executable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is what we set out to solve for.
You
was
wanted
not
so this
fast
is
enough,
this is
not granular.
This is a critical component of the value that incremental brings. You enable them with the capability to know what to execute, not just throw money at this.
in time too.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the other thing that we haven't talked about. Now, I mean, obviously we're excited about our product, but I think this is exciting. When you do it this way, and you can do it weekly, you get signal back. And I got a news flash for anyone.
And that
That's
feeds
out there.
the algorithm
No
that gives you
model-
better
yes.
results.
No
Yeah.
model's perfect. This is a journey, right? But as we feed in and get signal back, the model gets better and better.
More
And
input, better algorithm,
Yeah.
better output,
Virtuous
more
cycle.
data, better,
You
better,
got it.
better, better.
Well, it's like that.
virtuous cycle. Did
Yeah.
It's like that
Pollet
classical. It's like that
Well, they
classical.
call it a flywheel.
Yes, you might, but that's
I was like,
that's a
there's a term
taken
for
trademark.
this.
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry, I can't use that.
So yeah, we
You're welcome, Duncan.
yeah. So yeah, thanks for driving your share price. So, but it's like that old shibboleth about all models are wrong, but some are useful. The
Yeah.
piece that always leaves out. And some models are markedly more useful than others.
Yes.
So to quote Animal Farm. So look, I mean, as we go through this and we try to figure out so you alluded to this earlier,
Mhm.
that so often the pain point in this world comes from the walled garden nature of the data, right?
Yes.
There's huge buckets of data that are critically important to understanding incrementality that are not designed to talk to one another and are in fact
Right.
designed to compete with one another for being the best possible view of whatever the possible outcome is. You've got each RMN with their own data network, and as you mentioned before, each one has its own attribution model and all that
Right.
stuff. I've joked with many people in this space that because Amazon's attribution model is so I don't know what the nice word is for it.
Generous.
Yes, generous is an excellent word. That I've often described that the other retailers have a challenge which I call LID, which is how do I build the least intellectually dishonest attribution model that I can to make my ROAS look something like Amazon's. So, and I've gotten a lot of laughing and knowing approval from the heads of analytics of the retail media networks that I've asked about this, who shall remain nameless to protect their identities. So you've got that. So you've got everybody
Yeah.
trying to basically juice their attribution window to match how Amazon thinks about it. You've got obviously players like Meta and Google that are significant players in the advertising world that are obviously their own versions of walled gardens as well. How do you think about that problem?
Yeah.
How do you think it should be solved? How does incremental help solve it? Thoughts?
Right. Yeah.
The Holy Roman Empire is neither holy nor Roman. Discuss. So.
Love that reference.
The progressive era was
Yes.
neither progressive
Yes.
nor an era.
Yes.
Discuss.
Yeah.
Well, I think it ties back to our early discussion around some of the shortcomings of MTA,
Yeah.
right? When you've got a bunch of walled gardens and you can't stitch a user pass across them,
Yep.
something like a multi-touch attribution will struggle with measurement. What that means is you have to look to other measurement techniques that either through modeling or experimental design allow you the ability to work with aggregate level reporting that you can get out of these tools, right? So whether that's geo tests, lift tests, techniques like econometrics, like you'd see in a market mix model.
Synthetic
You have to
controls.
look synthetic controls. You have to look to other techniques that allow you to work with the data you can get back from those tools.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
All right. So we always love to look to the future as we end our conversation. So I'm going to throw this to both of you. What do you think are some of the most important directional trends, capabilities that have your attention right now that are going to fundamentally shape retail media and cause it to accelerate at an even greater pace than it already is?
I love, and you and I talked about this a while ago, the first time we met, I love the introduction of video, right? I love that we're moving into CTV. It's both logical, and it's a media type that plays a very different role.
TikTok would not be a massive platform if it wasn't a visual platform.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it.
Yeah. And look, I like the clean rooms as a first start. I'd like to see more direct data transparency to the brands from the retailers.
Yeah.
And I believe that will come, right? And I desperately would like to see the ability to apply a common audience lens across all media types, and that's not given. Some kind of segmentation schema that breaks the world up into, the universe into building blocks of, call it somewhere between 500,000 and 1.5 million, where you can really start to assemble good marketing and think about user pathing from a targeting, not just a measurement perspective. And I just believe that's all going to come, because at the end of the day, that provides a sense of scale to brands. And when you provide a sense of scale, the dollars follow.
Okay. So, Skye, how about you?
Yeah, I'm really excited by the push for standardization coming from folks like the IAB. Even with the need for independent measurement, even just standardizing the data schemas, the language, all these elements, make it easier.
What is a click? Like, you'd think that everyone would agree what a click is, but there are some retail media networks that define it differently than others. I mean, something you would think everyone could agree on. It really isn't the way you think it is.
Right. Sometimes it's a click, sometimes it's just a group of friends that are particularly close.
Mean girls? I hate those clicks.
Yes, exactly. So, I ask a click. They don't.
No, I think I agree with you. I think it's time, and ultimately it's because the brands are demanding it. I'm not going to shift my budgets until you guys help me justify reallocation of budget from other mechanisms that I've been using.
Or I'm going to shift my budget because commercially I'm dependent on this retailer for a large chunk of my P&L, but I'm going to scream and moan about it all day long, and I'm going to not do the work to do what you've talked about, which is to create these optimized, integrated stories that actually really do drive brand performance. I think that's, to be honest, I don't know that the retail media networks are suffering on as much on the collecting money side right now. Yeah. I think they're suffering on the outcome side because they're not engaging, they're not engaging the hearts of the media buyer. Dave, to your phrase earlier, you got to move the hearts before you change the mind and behavior. And the hearts of the media teams right now aren't in this stuff because they can't always lean in the way that they really want to. And as a result, you get people, I'll spend money with you, but I'm not going to really think it through. Right. And you'll end up with a bunch of money being spent on stuff that doesn't make any sense.
So, I mean, we think independent measurement pointed towards incrementality helps everyone. Yes. Right? It brings trust, transparency. It helps the retailers too. Like if I have to spend
it's going to help them sell their solutions so much better because don't believe us, believe this third-party independent resource that has created a measurement solution that you don't have to trust us. Trust them.
And we do find places where there's huge opportunity. There's actual scale. It's underinvested. There's real growth to be had. And we're anxious for them to actually want to engage with us and hear that story. So far, we've had a lot of success attracting agencies and brands. We've had a lot of success integrating with the retailers. Yeah. But we don't have many of them coming and saying, we'd like your stamp on our measurement, and we're hoping we get there.
Right. Good. Awesome. That sounds great. Listen, for those of you listening, please, you can find all of our content that you want on the CPGguys.com. And by the way, if you think that your company has some thought leadership to contribute to our community discussion, drop us an email at contact@cpgguys.com, and maybe you can join us on the podcast. Don't forget, by the way, to drop us a rating at cpgguys.com, and also to a tremendous, or on your podcast platform of choice, and a tremendous thank you to our now 25,000 followers, I think.
As of like today.
As of today, we hit our 25,000 followers. So 25,000 followers. Thank you to all of you out there that listen, support, publicize, and say nice things to us, to our faces about the podcast, and then we read the reviews and know what you really say about us. So, listen, David, Skye, thank you so much for your time today. This is a really interesting conversation, and I hope the audience gets as much out of it as I did. So,
thank you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So, Peter, what do you think? You want to recap this?
Try not to. It gives me a headache. Oh, sorry.
I didn't ask.
You mean about the conversation?
I didn't ask. Do you think? I said, what do you think?
I think they came right out of the gate when Skye said they are trying to shift the paradigm from coincidence to causation in terms of the fundamentals of measurement. Retail media is a completely different beast. The old mechanisms like marketing mix modeling aren't applicable when you are trying to execute hundreds, if not thousands, of campaigns at scale, in real time, in real time, waiting 6 months for an MMM to come down and then being able to activate against that. That's what they're trying to solve against. And for brands looking to invest in retail media platforms, how retail media platforms define terms, how they do their measurement, differs from one to the next. And there is a groundswell of craving from advertisers to build some sense of independent measurement that can give brands the reassurance that they can invest in these mechanisms and actually drive their business. What I hear Incremental saying through Dave and Skye is that they are building that kind of a platform, looking towards the future in terms of the capability that can leverage many different assets, can take into account multi-channel investment across advertising mechanisms to really help brands understand what is the causation and give them a plan on how to invest that campaign by campaign to deliver the kind of incremental revenue growth and profitability that they are looking for.
This concludes our episode with David Pollet and Skye Frontier from Incremental. To learn more about Incremental, please check the digital liner notes of this podcast episode for links to their LinkedIn profiles and their company website. That's it for this episode. We look forward to speaking with you next time on the CPG Guys. Goodbye. The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPG Guys LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPG Guys LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPG Guys LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPG Guys LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.